and Anne-Marie.
Kia ora, thank you, Angie, and Anne-Marie's actually going to start the session, so thanks, Anne-Marie.
Kia ora koutou. We're very excited today to be talking to our members about the new continuing professional development pathway. If you were at conference, you would have seen us at this moment at the launch of the pathway. And then this webinar is our first introductory session. Bear with Laura and I as we move between screens. Yeah, we're very keen to get your questions as well, because as a new pathway, we're interested in finding out how this is going to be progressing for you guys, and so your questions are valuable as well. Okay, so in this webinar, we're going to be looking at what is CPD, how do you record your CPD, what are the professional recognition opportunities that come with this new pathway, and what are the requirements for those. And we're also going to look at how the Te Tautura capability framework is the foundation for this pathway. It's a key reference point, and we'll show you how to use that to reflect and plan your CPD. So how did this come about? Well, earlier in this year, there was a professional development survey which was very well responded to, and that was among some other ways of connecting with the sector and members to ask them what they wanted to see in professional development opportunities. So we asked, should LIANZA recognise professional development beyond formal qualifications and registration? And there was a resounding 71% of members said yes, they'd like to see another pathway in there as well. And would you be interested in CPD pathways that recognise different forms of learning? So that was also resoundingly supported. So with that, we were also interested in looking at how do we give career support with a new pathway. And that's obviously something that's a need in the sector. People can see the benefits of professional recognition. The current professional registration is obviously of benefit because it supports people with their ongoing learning, gives them professional credibility. But people also felt that there was a lack of career pathways in the sector, and we're hoping that this new certification process supports people to get recognition by their employers to support them in their careers. So what is CPD? If you're not familiar with it, it's recognised across professions. It's about proactively seeking out learning activities that impact our future practice. So to that extent, it's intentional, it's got planning and structure, it's about selecting relevant and meaningful learning. So a basic CPD cycle structure supports that happening through a cycle of reflection, doing planning, undertaking learning, recording it, and reflecting again. And so it's a constant sort of evaluative growth cycle. This is supported by LIANZA and IFLA. It's a key part of what a professional association seeks to do. So this pathway, the LIANZA Continuing Professional Development Pathway that's just been launched, it has 4 basic ingredients. Within this are 2 certificates of professional development, and then the new certification process, Cert LIANZA, which provides recognition for all members at every stage of their career in every role, regardless of formal qualifications. And then at the heart of this pathway is the Te Tautura capability framework, ensuring that these recognition opportunities are inclusive, flexible and robust by having a common point of reference. And then the last addition to the pathway is for the LIANZA members using the CPD journey of LIANZA members to support them in their revalidation. But we're going to go through all of this in a little bit more detail. The pathway is available to personal and student members, and it's accessed by logging in to the new membership path platform. If you haven't done it yet, go and have a go. This is where you'll be able to record your professional development. You'll be able to access tailored resources for this and receive your certificates of acknowledgement. The first of these is available after 12 months, and the second certificate at 36 months is a certificate of continuing professional development. So the first one's PD, the second one's CPD. And the CPD certificate is your stepping stone to the new certification process. So tailoring it for LIANZA, that CPD cycle that you saw, which is a standard one, the LIANZA one is pretty much the same, but the elements in it are supported by what you will find in your member portal. So it begins with you reflecting on your existing capabilities using the Te Totara capability framework and self-evaluating to identify areas for development using the capability levels in the framework. So the framework's both a reflective tool and there's some evaluation aspects to it that you can self-evaluate with. The framework includes prompts and a template for you to plan your PD, and all of that gives you a good structure for engaging in a cycle of continuing professional development. You'll find all the resources to support this cycle and the CPD logbook in your member portal.
This is what I take as I go along. That's a journal. This is.
We've just got somebody. Yep, I've got it. It's great. All right, so member portal, here it is. Well, first of all, you need to log in. You'll use your member email and your first name. And that will give you a link that arrives in your email. So go into your email, click the link. The link will stay live for 2 hours. And when you are in the portal, this is what you will see. So in addition to the My Profile tab and the membership info, you'll see a My CPD tab and also a My Totara tab. You go to the My CPD tab to find to access your logbook to record your PD, and you go to the My Totara tab to find the framework itself, so you can do a quick reference looking at the framework, and also the workbook for self-evaluation and planning. So we're going to switch now, and Laura's going to take you through a bit of a live demo. I'm going to hand over to you, Laura, to do that.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Fingers crossed I can make this work. Zoom platform for us, and we've been practicing hard out. So here we go. Cool. So I'm assuming you can see the portal, Anne-Marie, if you can just confirm that.
Yep.
Thank you. So obviously when you log in, this is the new part of the LIANZA portal. It's only available to personal and student members, not to institutional members. So if you would like to utilise the system, do speak to your institute and see if they will consider changing you to a personal membership. And we are looking at other options to see how we can get as many people on to using this platform as possible. So one of the things we'll have a very quick look at first is My Totara or My Totara. So Anne-Marie will talk a little bit more about this later in the session, but there are some amazing resources under this section, especially our new My Totara interactive workbook. So if you're not familiar with Totara, go and have a look. It's got some, as I said, some amazing interactive features. Sorry, I'm scrolling the wrong way, back down to the tree. And as you click on each of these capabilities, you can record straight onto the site, etc. Save your information, and then we can go back to our home page. Sorry, my screen's awfully big at the moment. So want to leave, we'll go back. So we'll just go back to our portal, but I do encourage you to have a look at the My Totara as well. Some really great new interactive resources. So at the moment, we'll go to My CPD, and this is where you can log your professional development. So when you come onto the page, you will see we have some great information, and I do encourage people to look through this. You're welcome to contact the office if you have questions, but you'll find most of your questions will be answered by the information here. So do have a look through here as well if you're not sure what to do. But when we're in the portal, you can see that when you log your activities, 1 hour equals 1 point. Unfortunately, our system runs on points, not hours, but we've done 1 point for 1 hour. You'll also see there's a maximum points activity of 5. Now, we know that sometimes projects run for weeks or months, or you might go for a conference that is 2 or 3 days, like our conference. The most you can put down for those activities is 5. Otherwise, you're not getting a really broad learning experience. And this mimics a little bit with what you'll see with LIANZA as well. There is a subsection where you can only subscribe so much of your learning to one section. So we've limited it at a maximum of 5 points per activity. But if you have any questions around that, just please reach out to us. So the first thing you need to do when you log in and you want to log an activity is you do need to download a learning reflection. We're hoping by Christmas this will be part of the automated system, but at the moment you do need to download it separately. And I'll just share what that looks like. Just give me a moment.
We can see that now.
So we can see that, cool. So you just download that, save it to your desktop, make sure you fill it in, and it'll look a little bit like this. Can you see the filled in one?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay, and there we go. So here's one I've prepared earlier. So I've chosen conference and I've filled in a learning reflection based on some activities I undertook at conference. And the reason you need to fill in the learning activity is it's really good reflective practice, but also it proves that you actually learned something. You weren't just doing an activity or part of your normal job. You actually can show that you did learn something from it. So that's a very important part of the process. So if we just switch back to the portal. And now that we've downloaded and saved our learning reflection, we're ready to add an activity. So you can see I've already added some activities previously. And it's very, very simple to add an activity. So the date that occurred, as I mentioned, I was at conference. Seems like only yesterday, but it was already a couple of weeks. And that's today's date. So with the points category, I'm going to use data information because this was an AI-driven webinar that conference that I attended. Points value, I'm using 2 because I went to 2 different keynote speakers and it was 2 hours long. And then if we add a learning option, this is what I downloaded earlier. So I've named it Conference LIANZA, so it's quite easy to find. And we do encourage you to think about your naming conventions so that you can find your learning reflections when you download them. And then all you need to do is click Add Activity. You can get halfway through this, and so long as you save it, you can always come back and edit it too. So we'll add our activity. Oh, missed a bit. See, it'll prompt you. So our source was other and our subsource was conference. But there's a whole list, as you can see, of activities that you can undertake. So we've got conference, and then we'll just add our activity. So if we go back to our CPD page, you can see there's my new activity, and you'll notice that it says pending. The reason that it says pending is in the back part of the CPD process, our new professional development lead will then approve it once they've checked it. Eventually, we will automate this process, but while we're making sure that people are downloading the reflection and adding really good quality CPD, we are checking as we go because we don't want people to start building up their professional development points and then discover that maybe they weren't of a good enough quality. So at this stage, it'll be pending. Once we've approved it, you'll see it move to approve. And once it's moved to approve, you'll see your points total up here. And Anne-Marie will talk a little bit more about this. And you can also see that for my professional development that I've been undertaking, I have a good spread across the tutorial framework. And I have a total of 6 points. And when this is approved, that should move up to 8 points. And I think we're going to move back now to Anne-Marie.
Okay, I'm going to have another go at being slick at doing this. How's that? Can you see the Question, will my logbook be reviewed?
No, we're not there yet.
Okay.
Yes, that's it. Perfect.
Great. So this is what we see at the back end. This is the Action Centre. We can see, for example, my conference, I put 5 points, and it's pending. It's pending in my CPD logbook, as Laura showed you in hers. Once it's been approved at the back end, it turns to approved here. Now, I've already logged up 17 points in my record. Depending on your role, how active you are and how active the opportunities are for you, you might find you are generating a lot of points. How you manage these points is not being dictated to by us. You might find that if you're, for example, somebody who reads, does a lot of professional reading, rather than add an entry and say, well, I want to find, I want to sort of write a learning reflection on that particular piece of reading, you might be better to bundle it and, for example, do a weekly reading, learning reflection, something like that, because the logbook is yours and you can actually tailor it how you want. But in terms of the requirements up here in that points total, you would need a minimum of 20 points in order to apply for your first certificate, and that is after 12 months. So don't worry if you've got a lot more in there than just your 20 points. As Laura said, that naming is going to be really important until we get the system actually having that learning reflection capability in the columns. I've named mine like this, and I've saved it in a folder. I've got my own drive. I've saved it in a folder in my drive of CPD learning reflections, and I've named it so I can easily find it again. So I'll just tell you now about the certificates. I've given myself a certificate here, even though I didn't get to 20 points. But this LIANZA certificate is something you'll be able to receive at 12 months. And down here for a period of 1 July to 30 June across the 2 years, it could actually be any period, any 12-month period. And it's saying that I, as a member, have logged a minimum of 20 hours of professional development activity and assigned their learning to Te Totara workforce capability elements. After 60 hours and 3 years, so it's both points and over time, I'm eligible for this certificate. And this certificate, once again, doesn't have to be in this financial year, but you might like to consider aligning it with your employer's performance review cycle, for example, and having your certificate reflect whatever that cycle looks like. Because the LIANZA Continuing Professional Development Scheme commenced in 2025 and was launched at the conference in September, you can backdate your log for 2025 if you wish. So, criteria for the certificates. This is an application process to the professional development lead. A sample of logbooks will be audited by the lead, and that's looking for the points criteria to see if there's a suitable learning reflection against each entry, and to see that it demonstrates a balance of activity. So we don't really want to see 20 points from just one area of capability. It would be great for you to consider when you're planning your PD how to demonstrate a balance across Te Totara, and we can look at that a little bit later in this meeting. It's not simply a question in that learning reflection of describing the activity, it's actually saying what was the learning. So if you do have a question around that, the LIANZA part of the LIANZA website does have a useful document in there on how to write a learning reflection. These learning reflections are actually quite brief, they're only 180 words long, but really it's your ability to demonstrate what did you learn and how does that impact you as a professional. So this as a stepping stone to professional recognition. Once you have that CPD certificate, you can apply for certification as Cert LIANZA. Also, if you are LIANZA, you can have the option now to use your CPD record in place of the journal to support your revalidation process. So those two things are running in parallel for the LIANZA members. So what is Cert LIANZA? It's a new recognition pathway. It's putting professional development at the heart of this recognition. It acknowledges members for their demonstrated commitment to professional development, as demonstrated by their logbook and the learning reflections. The pathway is universal, so it's regardless of your point of entry into the sector. And the requirements are a CPD certificate, and then, as with our other recognition LIANZA, it requires a cover letter with a self-assessment statement, just sort of doing a wrap-up of your professional development for the period, and a letter of endorsement from your employer. And that process is reviewed and awarded by the Professional Registration Board, of which the Professional Development and Events Lead is a member, or will be a member when she starts in November. So if you already are LIANZA, how can you use the logbook when you're revalidating? Survey feedback did give us a really clear picture that there were quite a few issues for people revalidating, issues of time, issues of complexity. Many people commented that they would like a process that was a bit more straightforward, and where they were able to reflect the PD that they had been doing that was relevant and meaningful to them in their role. So hence the Professional Registration Board and the Professional Development Lead will be supporting LIANZA members to use this process for the revalidation. Now, if you're already in the process of filling out your journal, but you wish to take up this option, you are going to need to record entries into your logbook for a minimum of 60 hours of PD. And the requirements for writing a learning reflection and for your self-assessment cover letter remain the same. The quality of your learning reflection as LIANZA members will still need to meet the rigour of the professional registration standards and be inclusive of references to both tautohera capabilities and the bodies of knowledge, sort of a dual approach. You can pick and mix basically your reference points for the PD that you've been doing in order to revalidate your LIANZA registration. Right, I am thinking now it would probably be a good time to pause and take some questions. Laura, if you're unmuted as well, would be, and I don't know if I can see everybody on the call. I think Angie will probably help identify, but we'd love to see your questions in the chat, or unmute yourself and flag that you'd like to pitch in.
I'd just thank you very much, Anne-Marie. What I'd just like to share, can I share my screen again very briefly? Is that possible?
Yep.
Yep, I'll just share my screen. If it will cooperate, there we go. What I just wanted to mention is there is also an export button. So obviously you can view your log easily and you can edit and you can open these things. However, you can export it as well if you need to export it to your employer. And you can also see that in the interim, whilst Anne-Marie was talking, I've got my CPD points that were pending. I went in and approved them. And when I refresh the page, you'll see that now I am up to 8 points and I have a wider spread. So that was the latest section of tautohera I added, the wider library data, information and knowledge section. So I had 2 points. So I'm now up to 8 points. So I'm well on my way as well. So yeah, just a quick reminder, you can export your logbook And that's what happens when you add the activities. Once we've approved it, it's instantaneously added to your points total in your logbook. Thank you, Anne-Marie. And yes, we're very happy to take questions. Abigail has added a link, thank you very much, to the LIANZA reflective writing, which is great.
So Kai has put a question in here. So I'm planning on going for LIANZA, having just completed my MIS Masters earlier this year. Is the original LIANZA sign up still the same? Then I just start using this process after that initial sign up. That's her question? Does she just use this? Their question, sorry.
Want me to answer? Yes, the LIANZA application process is exactly the same. We're applying the CPD logbook areas to the revalidation process, not to the initial application process. Hey, congratulations on getting your qualification, and you'll be one of the people then who'll be able to get into the new logbook right from the get-go of your LIANZA registration process. Right.
Delia has asked the question, how do you start the first stage and become a member of LIANZA? Well, there's a Join LIANZA button on our website, Delia. We'd love to have you join us, and then you can get onto that. Then you'll have all the information to get onto the member portal.
Yeah, so what will happen is when you join, your personal membership will be activated by our office, and then you can log in. And I have played around with the system and made myself a lapsed user, and it did block me from the portal. I can tell you the best thing though is if you do lapse and then decide you would like to come back, any information that you've added to the portal is saved. So if something happens and you're taking a break and you think, no, I really want to rejoin, your information is saved. But yeah, so the minute you join, we send you your details and you can log straight onto the portal. Once achieved, is there an expiry date, sorry, Angie, for the certificates? Well, that's an interesting question, isn't it, Anne-Marie?
Well, it's the cycle of the CPD cycle ends at 3 years with that certificate, and then you need to start your accumulation again. So you've got your 3-year cycle for revalidation of LIANZA, and you've got a 3-year cycle of revalidation for Cert LIANZA. That's based on your next CPD certificate of 36 months, 3 years.
So yeah, so to maintain Cert LIANZA, you do need to revalidate. Also with Cert LIANZA, you can add it as a post-nominal, the same as LIANZA, and you will be put on our website as having achieved Cert LIANZA as well.
Yeah, and you can use Cert LIANZA as your post-nominal on your email signatures. So while you are an active professional development person and you've been awarded Cert LIANZA, you'll be able to carry on using that Cert LIANZA.
And I can see there's a question about the old membership portal that someone can log into both. We're about...
sorry, you go.
Do you want to answer that, Angie?
No, I'm jumping to the other one, so you keep going.
Okay, so our old portal of Wild Apricot will end at the end of October. We've been running dual systems just to make sure we've transferred all the information we need, and it's great to have it as a backup. But after the 30th of October, you will no longer be able to log into Wild Apricot, and all your information has been transferred to the new portal. So yeah, at this stage you can access both, but from 30th of October, only the new portal will work.
And we do encourage you to fill in as much as you can in your member profiles, because there are a lot more categories to be filled in that will help us and help you in how we provide membership services. So Pauline has said, put a question here on, can I create a personal LIANZA membership if I already have a LIANZA institutional membership? Laura, do you want to answer that?
Yes, you can. You do. So you can have, I've got about 3 different login details. So if you're the head of your institute and you have an institutional membership, you can also join as a personal member. because you do need personal membership to be able to access the CPD program. However, we are looking in the next couple of months of a way of expanding out the institutional membership to allow more people to have access to our CPD program. So if you are not a personal member and it's not possible to become a personal member and you're just in that institutional membership group, do keep an eye on your emails. We are working to look at how we can work with your employer to get more of you onto the CPD platform.
So Jess has also asked, can I backdate learning reflections to encapsulate the professional development I've done in the last year, starting now with the new CPD framework? I think Anne-Marie did answer that earlier, that it can be backdated to July.
No, I'm thinking that to the calendar year. I mean,
Oh,
these are the things that to some degree are all about a new pathway and how should it work with all the multitudinous variations of you guys out there. I think if you are LIANZA and you want to backdate further back than January 2025, you would really need to have a conversation with the Professional Registration Board about that. And then you've got their support for any transferring that you would do at that point. But certainly it would be easy enough, I think, for people to build up a good record of points if they have the whole of 2025. So that's what we were thinking.
So yes, you can backdate till January the 1st easily. Anything more than that, reach out and connect with us.
Yeah.
so Rachel's question is along a similar line. I am currently midway through a revalidation journal. Can I continue to complete the journal for the next 2 years and then switch?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So yes, we're running a dual system. And Hannah has asked, can we add the date to the next Korero newsletter, which we will. I can see that's already got a thumbs up from probably Angie.
No.
Any other questions? And if people want to unmute and ask us directly, you're more than welcome. Oh, we've had another one come in.
Aha, that's a good question. So the question is, with the My Tōtara interactive workbook, does any information you put in the workbook populate My CPD? No, the workbook is personal to you, and you might want to take a really comprehensive approach to that. So not all of that is relevant to what's in your logbook. So those are two separate things. But in terms of the planning cycle, using the workbook to reflect, to self-evaluate using the rating scales in the workbook, answering the reflecting questions in there, all of that is actually about planning and preparation and coming up with your own sort of professional development plan for the next period. Your logbook is about the undertaking of PD, and it's the recording of what you've done. It's a really good question. I'd love a system that could be flexible like that, but no.
And one of the things we probably haven't mentioned is the system does have the ability, though, if you attend a webinar with LIANZA, you'll see now that we've started to put what part of Te Totara the webinar subscribes to and also how many CPD points, and it will start to automatically update. Now, you can delete those entries if you don't want them to be part of your CPD logbook, but if you do, they should automatically update when you attend a LIANZA webinar.
Or a special interest group or a community event, anything that's been coordinated through LIANZA. Right, I'm just wondering if we should go through now and just talk a little bit about Te Totara and how that fits.
We've actually got one, sorry, Anne-Marie, we've got another question. So the plan to eventually make LIANZA only based on Te Totara and the CPD logbook. At this stage, we are running the dual system, and there's a little bit more work to do before we look at whether we grandparent LIANZA. But I would encourage you, if you're enjoying using the revalidation journal, stick with it. The system will change slowly, and we will, if we do decide to switch just to the Te Totara framework. And we will allow people to grandparent or finish their revalidation journals if they're part of a cycle. However, I would also encourage you to go and have a look at the CPD logbook. We believe it's a great system, and I think you'll really enjoy it, and you may choose naturally that you do want to switch to it. It's digital. It's a lot easier for us to assess. It will really help the office with their workload. And we really do see it as the capability framework, you know, is just an amazing tool. But no, you will be allowed to continue with your revalidation journey if you're partway through.
And do you want to answer the next question, Laura?
Would the My Total workbook be part of the LIANZA submission process as well? No, it's just for personal use. It's your CPD logbook that is part of the revalidation process. And does Cert LIANZA provide a pathway to LIANZA as an alternative? No, it doesn't at this stage. It doesn't mean we're not looking into it, but LIANZA still requires that degree level qualification, and Cert LIANZA was developed along a very similar lines to give acknowledgement to people that don't have the degree level qualification. So no, at this stage, they are two separate acknowledgements, even though they're being measured and audited in a very similar way. So they just complement each other.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen again. So some people will be familiar with Te Tōtara, but a lot of people might be coming to it for the first time as part of the CPD pathway. So I wanted to give you a quick run through familiarity introduction. It looks like this. It's digital at this point. The metaphor is that of a tree. It's a capability framework, which is a set of skills, knowledge, values, and attributes, personal attributes, described in a tree metaphor. So we'll just have a quick look at the tree metaphor, because you'll see when you're doing your logbook, it'll refer you to the roots or to the branches, to the trunk, or to the reflection falling leaves. The roots are the foundation of the framework, symbolising kaupapa Māori. Section A is called kaupapa. The trunk is symbolising the strong heartwood of the tōtara tree, and it's about the ethics and the wider library professional context. And the branches are an assortment of capabilities, which we'll look at. And so those three elements are where you will draw your reference points from. There's lots of resources on the public website that are available to anybody who's not a member of LIANZA, and you can go to this page on the public LIANZA website to find all sorts of resources there. But we've made a resource, as Laura showed you, specifically to accompany the CPD process, and that's My Tōtara. It's the navigable framework with an interactive workbook. So it's sort of put two things together, the framework and the Taku Tōtara workbook that you might have seen. It is really giving you access to the framework and some tools. And here's an example of one of the tools. This is the action plan. This is the goal setting template that you saw Laura starting to type into. This is seasonal. You can actually start it at any point in the year, but it's a lovely idea that you can start at Matariki, but actually you can start in the middle of summer if you want. So the framework looks like this. You'll see this when you go into My Tōtara tab, and these are the navigable elements in green. So you'll be able to click on those and go straight to that part of the framework. The elements in the roots incorporate kaupapa principles. They incorporate you reflecting on knowledge of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and they incorporate you looking at Te Ao Māori and your understanding of that and your development areas. The trunk is looking at the ethics and context. It's referring you to the IFLA Code of Ethics. It doesn't re-describe them. It's asking you to go off and have a look at the EFLA Code of Ethics. And this is a really valuable point of reference if people have come into library work without having a library and information sector qualification, without having had much chance to look at codes of practice or guidelines for research, for example. So this area of the framework is directing you to think about what's my PD needs in this area. The branches on the left-hand side, they're largely interpersonal, relational, which is a really nice aspect of them because these are core elements to working in this sector. They include planning, management, and leadership, but that's not just a hierarchical leadership. You don't have to be a manager. It can be leadership in an area of specialisation or cultural mātauranga Māori, for example, where you bring leadership to your work. And then on the right-hand side are the more technical capabilities. These are very much aligned with bodies of knowledge, but they're a little bit more up to date than the bodies of knowledge, which is now 20 years old. And you'll see within each branch there is a subsection of branches. And at this point in the logbook, you're being asked to choose a major branch to attribute your PD. Sometimes the title of the major branch isn't going to tell you very quickly, oh gosh, is that where I will assign my PD? You might need to go and have a proper look at that branch and look at the elements in it and ask, okay, yes, I am sort of sitting within that aspect of the framework before you assign it in your logbook and get points for that particular area. The framework also has a reflecting section, and it is based also, and the workbook part of the My Tōtara is getting you to look at where you might sit. So reflecting where your capability level is. Is it at the very beginning? Is it at mōhio, sort of early understandings? Is it at mārama, more confident? Or is it at mātou level, where you might be more of a person who can share those skills with others? And PD can also be about sharing skills, because we bone up very quickly when we know we've got to support somebody else in an area of knowledge. This is an example of what the descriptor looks like for Te Tiriti o Waitangi. So you'll see those 3 levels there, and some descriptors underneath to help you think through. They don't cover everything, of course. You would have to have an enormous document to do that, but they are prompting you in your reflection. And then the subsequent page in My Tōtara is getting you to rate yourself from the seedling through to the majestic heartwood tōtara. That's all private to you. With these questions where you identify what you think your greatest strength is, how you might use that strength on the job and with your colleagues, looking at your work in progress areas, and any other reflections. And when I've done this as a sort of put myself through parts of the workbook, I have found that thinking process has generated a really clear understanding for me, even without the detail being handed to me, because it makes me think. And I think, oh, look, this is an area I actually feel a little unclear on. I'm going to go away and do some more professional development in that area. Here's another example. This is in the information, knowledge, and data management domain. This particular one is a page on data collection, analysis, and management. And it incorporates a whole lot of different things in there, which will hopefully stimulate you to think about where you're at with your digital knowledge, with your management of data, etc. Once again, self-rating and reflecting in the boxes provided. You need to save and download this into your own system. You can't go back into My Tōtara tab and it's not saving your system, your workbook there. You'll need to download it and save it privately on your own file. There's also this page for people with specialist capabilities to do the similar process and record themselves against that area. Some good prompts in the reflecting questions. I think some of these are really valuable just to get us thinking about where our PT comes from. For example, what are my lessons learnt, which I teach to others? Have I had the opportunity to observe, excuse me, excellent performance in this area? So your PD plan might actually be, I need to go find somebody who knows more about this than I do and get a bit of mentoring. There's also a guide for creating your professional development plan. It's Atamai is the anagram. It's actually a SMART, if you know SMART, approach, specific, measurable, and it's very similar, but Atamai, I understand, means smart or ready or intelligent or quick thinking in Te Reo Māori. So it fits nicely for getting you to think about, is my PD aimed, time-bound, applicable, measurable, achievable, intentional? And that is how you make a decision about what goes into your action plan. Because for an action plan to be realized across the course of a year, it does definitely have to be these things. It's also completely editable and amenable to changes for you and what you need to learn as the year goes on. So you can edit your own action plan at any time. It's a great thing though if you've got a one-to-one with your manager, or if you're coming up to performance development review time. This is a great process to have gone through to enrich that conversation you're going to have with your manager in your organisation's PDR process. So there's lots of ways of using Te Totara, but in this instance, in the pathway, it's a tool for individual learning and development, planning, using a structured approach to professional development. There are other aspects to Te Totara as well, and you can have a look at the main website to see examples and prompts of how to use it for a team to come up with some collective goals, perhaps to as an advocacy tool, a visual tool to represent library values, skills, attributes and knowledge to people in your organisation who may not be familiar with library and information specific capabilities. So have a think about how else you might want to use Te Totara. Okay, and just finally, this is about a structured approach. It's about continuous professional development. I think people in the sector are here because you love learning. Being a professional is all about loving learning and seeing it as a continuous process that never really stops. In the world we're in at the moment, there's a lot of challenges where we have to keep up with evolving technology and changes in modes of information. But at the heart of all this is the pleasure of being a professional and being a learning professional. So I like this whakatau here, seek after learning for the sake of your well-being. I think that speaks to me as a real reason for doing the CPD pathway, and we really hope that you enjoy it. So that's us, and I think we're also pretty close to time. Would it be a good idea to go back to people to see if there's any questions?
I've just got a couple of things to add, Anne-Marie. Thank you very much. Anne-Marie may have mentioned, but this the framework has been endorsed across the sector. And we also know that other similar glamour sectors have also been utilising it. And a reminder that with the CPD pathway too, if you undertake that, you can take that with you. And if you are looking to move throughout the library and information sector, it's not just for public libraries, it's not just for institutional libraries, it's not just for special libraries. You can use this information and download your transcript to help your CV and help you with job applications too. So it is meant to be a broad across sector learning and pathway opportunity. And I also just wanted to share that Anne-Marie's time with us as our project manager of Te Totara has nearly finished. However, we are setting up, as she's done, and I would like to thank her, she's done just the most incredible job to bring this framework to life. And as we joked the CPD pathway has now given it a job to do, so it will keep it alive and make sure that it is utilised across the sector. But also we are setting up a group to monitor and support Te Tautora, and if it needs updating, if we need to make changes, if we need to keep it relevant. So this isn't the end of it. We will still be working with invited members across all of the information and library and glamour sectors to keep this really relevant and really updated as well.
Thank you for that. And there's a couple more questions. One of them is, Vanessa's asking a question that's something that's occurred to me while I've been working in the workbook as well, which is, how do you rate yourself as an expert if you only feel it mohoio, but you know that you've got a lot of experience? It's such a subjective thing. It's very hard to say you're expert at something, and I don't think any of us ever are, and we're certainly never expert at every capability. There's always something to learn. So that self-rating scale is actually rather long. It's not just 3 things. So you can choose where you feel you are on that particular day.
And I'd just add, tongue in cheek, if more people are coming to you to ask your advice than you're asking, you're probably heading towards the expert level.
Mm-hmm. And then the next question is this part of the interactive workbook. Yes, when you go to the My Tautora tab and you go into the My Tautora document, that's the navigable framework and workbook integrated. So you'll see those fields, those data fields that you fill in that book. Okay, yeah, you can't be on the public page to find that. That My Tautora book is specific to the CPD pathway. Now, there will be more questions, I'm sure. There's 3 new now. Just to let you know that the LIANZA office, the team's quite small, but it expects to be, really asked lots of questions around this. Go to the CPD information tab on the My CPD button first and go and have a look at that document. That might answer your question first. But yes, keep these questions coming because they're really forming up the CPD pathway.
And I just add something else to that information. There's also information on the public facing pages under members. So all the My CPD pathway information is also there, and the fact sheet is there as well, just for people that are interested to know about it before they join up.
And people are saying nice things about the Tautora metaphor and asking how many other sectors are utilising it. So in terms of the subsectors within the library and information broad umbrella, there's been probably a dozen or so organisations that have adopted or are looking to adopt, and there's 125 odd people in the community of practice. I would say half are very active in using Te Tautora at the moment, and they come from public, tertiary. I think people who work in singly or in very small teams, that process of looking at Te Tautora has been quite a bulky thing to ask them to do, whereas now with the CPD logbook, we're hoping that people will feel, okay, it's actually a tool that I can use and I'll get to have a look at it. And do this reflecting planning process with it by being a member and using the CPD logbook.
And in terms of the sector endorsement, I mean, it wasn't, if you go onto the CPD, onto the Te Tautora page on our general website, you'll see RAS, LIANZA, Te Raupu Whakaho, National Library, Public Libraries, all endorsed it. So they're all actively aware and utilising it. But also we've had inquiries from the museum sector as well to ask if they could utilise it. And of course, all the free resources on the LIANZA homepage are for everyone to use. So yeah, the museum sector is also interested in using sections of it as well at this stage. But at the moment, we're mostly concentrating on our own sector, but yeah, it has already leaked into the museum sector, which is wonderful.
So Abigail's asking, is it okay to use it for your professional development and also potentially for some peer accountability? It becomes a point of reference. The framework itself is a point of reference. It's like a shared language for the sector to do your own reflecting, to reflect with others, to be used in onboarding, to be used as mentoring. You know, it's actually got whatever use you want to apply it to. So I just encourage you to go ahead and do all sorts of interesting things with it. And thank you for that comment. I know a lot of you are working in solo roles, and it's exciting that you'll have something that makes you feel like you've got a process for demonstrating your professional development that you are committed to. That's cool.